So, Alessandra, next question for you. Okay, I was really touched by what you wrote, and certainly your written words are vibrant and expressive. How would you generalize your enthusiasm and dedication to engage others in the community, in political and civic engagement?
I think like what's important is to just use a variety of tactics and reach out to people in our community. Most of the time I lived in Manchester, I lived on the west side, and it's very different from where I live now, which is in Ward 9. It's more of a suburban area with a lot of retirees, very French Canadian, as opposed to the west side was a little bit more mixed. And now I'm experiencing a lot more like I have to go knock on people's doors and I have to go to community meetings and engage with them face to face and to best like be able to connect with them. With younger people, I've always found like social media is best, like getting on TikTok or whatever platform is like most used at the time and connecting with people directly with like the language they use, the trends they use, like issues they care about. And right now, I would say like I'm very much in the stage of my campaign where I really want to hear what the people in my community care about and what's important to them before I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna like, you know, focus on this or this or this in office, because I want to focus on the things that's like most impactful to people in my community. Yeah, so I'm just trying a variety of tactics to connect with people, and I think like being really honest and transparent about, you know, in New Hampshire we have 400 state reps. Anybody can be a state rep. I'm not saying like I'm a politician with so much more experience and knowledge than anybody else, but I have like the opportunity and privilege to be able to run for office, and I want to truly like represent what people want out of me and not just take my own like political agenda into office and run with that.
Thank you, Alessandra. I just have to say that looking at the panelists, the ones that are running for state rep, it shows the evolution of the state of New Hampshire, because I think you guys are too young to be state reps. So which is good. Maria, what legislation that you have been involved in has had the greatest impact on the Latino community? Or for that matter, what future legislation would do so? You can pick one or the other, or both.
Well, to be honest, the bill that I got so involved with the divisive concept language bill, because I feel like that is like taking away her history, taking away the struggles, not just the Latino, the Black, but the indigenous communities. I think taking that from kids in companies, industries, learning, and teaching, not just students, but workers, the struggles and why people are here and what people have been going through, it's been critical. Last night I was in a school board meeting because in my district they're trying to take away history books. They're trying to take away teachers for teaching different things that they say that is divisive concept. I don't agree with that. I believe when we learn from everyone's struggles, we can do better as a community, we can do better as a state, we can do better as a country. I explained my experience coming here as an immigrant, and the way I went to Adult Learning Center, I went to college, I learned by history how to treat others the way I want to be treated. And I believe that putting that language in the budget, that was the worst thing that can ever happen in New Hampshire. And I've been very vocal. And I'm just going to add a little bit of what Carlos said, because I think it's critical for me to say something about how critical it is for us as Latinos to remember that I don't see myself as a Democrat or Republican. I see myself as a human who's trying to do better for other humans who look like me, or the people who are struggling right now. And one of the things that I see happening a lot is not just the Republican and Democrat, and the Democrats too as well. They forgot about our communities. They only remember us when it's time for elections. I have witnessed, and I've been working really hard with Eva Castillo, with other community leaders, trying to bring the Democratic Party to listen to us. For 3 years, I've been asking one of our senators for a meeting so she can listen to us. She can listen to the struggles of the community. And what I was told by that particular senator is we don't agree, so we don't have nothing to talk about. This is the end of the conversation. I don't have time to sit down with you. How can we ask our community to vote for those particular candidates when they're not giving us the time of the day? And I'm going to be honest, I reached out to Republican candidates for Senate and congressional delegation to sit down with me and explain to me what are they going to do if they get elected. Because I want to work with both sides of the aisle, because I don't see them as Republicans and Democrats, but I see them as someone that we can work together. But so far, none of them have reached out to me. So how can we ask our community to get involved only when it's election time, but the whole time that we're in office, we're not taking the time to sit down and listen to their struggles and what they need from us and what they want us to do for them. We have to sit down and listen to them. What do they really need? What are their struggles? And then we can tell them how are we going to fix it and what are we going to do.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Very touching comments that you're making. And I think that highlights the need for you on the panel here, the ones that are not in the panel that were supposed to be on the panel, to actively engage the community. Again, engage them without a hat on. Okay? Engage them as people. Engage them as things that need to happen for the community. I think, unfortunately, we're living in a time when there's a lot of polarization. It has affected a healthy dialogue. So I think it's important to perhaps do an approach without having the hat on of one party or the other. And it's pretty much, okay, so we live in this community, these are the needs of the community, what are the things that we can do together so we can move forward. There's a lot of commonalities that we have with one another. I think one of the questions that sometimes people ask, well, what are the needs of the Latinos? The same as everyone else. We have the same needs for education, for healthcare, and so forth. So I think so. Let's find the common ground and work from there. Dr. Trini, I love your introduction of yourself to politics. First time. I wish you the best. You talk about fighting for the community in different ways and so forth. So if you can articulate fight for us, how are you going to fight? What are you going to do to do this visionary statements that you have made?
Thanks, guys. I want to also add on to the previous responses that it's both, right? Our communities need to be engaged, interested, and we need to give them something to be interested in, right? Whichever party, we need to provide opportunities for people to want to get involved. And also make sure there are not barriers and limitations that prohibit people's ability to be civically engaged and active participants in their communities. And I think what I see is that there are oftentimes in many arenas limitations, barriers, lack of opportunity, and we all want the same thing, as Gus just said. We want to be able to raise our children, for them to thrive, to have opportunities that we didn't have. We want to be able to have jobs. jobs that pay well, that provide health insurance, that pay us enough that we can afford to take the health insurance and not have to pass it up, that provide retirement contributions. You know, the kinds of things that many people take for granted as what comes with employment is not available to everyone. So having equal opportunity to provide for your family, to have a home that's safe, that you're not overcrowded, that you can afford to pay for, so that you can, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the American dream, the New Hampshire advantage, whatever we want to call it, right? We all want the same thing. And so laws that don't limit us, laws that support our ability to work, to be healthy. So we've seen a lot of problematic laws in addition to HB 544, which Maria spoke about, which is now enshrined in budgetary law. We have seen health bills that passed that are very problematic. When I was at the Office of Health Equity, I was in a different position to be able to bring money to the state, to be able to create programming. And so in that same way, creating jobs, creating opportunities, educational pathways. I'm still new, I can't speak about the breadth of laws that exist because I didn't operate in that sector before, but I think anything we can do to open opportunity, and so I like to say it's quality jobs, quality schools, quality healthcare for all, because it's about everyone having opportunity, and that's what equity is. And we hear that word tossed around, we hear that word disparaged, and really all it means is we all want an equal opportunity to be able to thrive, to be able to provide for our families, to be able to have opportunities in school and in work, and just to be, right? Just to be.
Thank you, Doctor. On this note, I would like to end this segment and segue onto the segment for the media. So I invite those members of the media that are here to address any questions that they may wish to make to the candidates. Gabi Lozada from New Hampshire Public Radio.
I would like to know if you have any strategies to connect with the Latino community, especially for them to be engaged if you get elected, engaged in going to the State House, for example, to testify. So do you have any strategies for that?
To whom are you addressing the question?
Everyone.
Maria, take it.
Okay, so the way that I see us getting the community involved is, for the past 2 years that I've been elected as a state representative, I've been everywhere, like everywhere. No matter is it like North Country, like the Massachusetts border, I go like every event that I can be, because when I go to these events, I'm not just representing Milford, but I'm representing everyone in New Hampshire. And then being involved in those events and listen to the people and then having conversations with them, that's how we're gonna get people engaged. I've been told that rallies and events don't buy votes. I'm sorry, I don't see it that way. Because when I go to the rallies, I don't go for votes. I go because I care about the issues that are happening in my community. For example, you were in Nashua covering the No Hate event that we had a couple weekends ago. Because we had an event in Nashua that a white supremacy group was targeting our immigrant community. And I reached out to many leaders in our community and I say, well, these people reaching out to me from Nashua, what are we going to do as Latinos? And they say, well, you're the state representative, what are you going to do for your community? So I put the event together, and to be honest, I thought I was going to get in trouble because I'm an elected official. But I put my shoes as a community leader, a community organizer, and I organized the event to bring the community together. I don't care if I don't live in Nashua, but I see Nashua as the biggest diverse community like Manchester. If we don't pay attention to those issues, how can we get the people involved? How can we make the community welcome if we don't do anything when we see that happen? Their struggles is our struggles, and my struggles are their struggles. So if we're not around and listen and pay attention to those things, how can we ask them to be involved? So we need to do that in order to get more people engaged. And it is critical for people to go to the State House and testify, but we need to be very careful not to tokenize our people, because we can hurt our community more than anything when we have them testify in some bills, like for example, abortion ban. We need to be very careful because a lot of times they can utilize that information and hurt our community. So yes, it is critical for them to go, but we need to be very careful not to hurt the community as well.
Thank you. Jasmine Torres, New Hampshire PBS.
Hi, this question is directed to Alessandra and to anybody who might want to comment. What are some strategies that you're thinking about using to engage the young people? Because you did talk about disengagement, you know, especially amongst first generation, and as a first generation myself. What are some ways that you're thinking about engaging the young people and making them feel like this is a safe space to be in, to, you know, to be able to run for office?
Yeah, I mentioned before, being honest, I think is so important in politics. I think that we're often told from either party, they lead with this message about how they're gonna like change the world or save like everything for us, and really lead with these high expectations that inevitably are gonna fall. And it can be, you can feel used as a community like the Latino community or many marginalized communities when parties do come to us for support during election time, and then when bills are actually passing, they're not listening to us and how those bills impact our community. So I think being honest with people about like what can actually be done, what can actually happen and move at the state level, what I could actually support and push for is a really big first step. And then also meeting people where they're at, whether that's online, on TikTok, on social media, whether that's at Don Quixote, on Union, and like going to where people are, where they already are, where they already gather, and like building that trust and relationships and community so that they trust me and they know I'm going to be real with them. And then, yeah, if we can have that working relationship so they know that I truly am working to represent them in Concord.
And I will add to that. What Alessandra is saying is be true. A lot of times we get asked to run for office. Either party asks if he can run for office. But when you're running for office, they're not giving you the time of the day. And when you're in office, you're by yourself. Because if you don't agree with what the agenda is for a particular party, you get silent and you get pushed to the side. And the other thing is be honest. When we asking people to run for office, we have to be honest that it's only $100 a year salary. It's only $100. And I'm gonna be honest to you guys because this is like a safe space for me. I got laid off at the end of July. I was looking for a job. I was super excited about 2 jobs. And what I was told is, thank you so much, you overqualified for the job. We're super excited to offer you the job, but you're still rep. We're not gonna be able to give you the job because you're gonna be asking for days off to go and represent your community in Concord. So you can't be here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So 2 jobs rejected me because I'm a state rep. So we need to think about those things when we're asking people to run for office, because I'm so grateful that I have a husband who's supporting me right now and my family is supporting me. But how about, the younger generation who thinking about starting a family? My family, my daughter is 30, my son is 27. Both of them graduated from college already. I don't have little ones, that I have to support. But we need to think about the younger generation who wants to start a family, who wants to buy a house. Where are we leaving the representation? I'm almost 50 years old. I want to see getting more younger generation running for office, like 20s, 30s, 40s. But how can we do that when we not allow them to have it a full-time job? And one of the things that I brought it to one of the person who told me that I'm not allowed to have the job because I'm a state rep, and I say, so what do you tell military service? Because they have to ask for days off when they have to go away for a weekend. So what do you tell them? And I say, I was told, well, I'm sorry, we can't answer that question. We just letting you know that we can't give you the job because you're just a rep. So those are the things that we need to be upfront when we ask people to, the younger generation to be representing us. They need to have a job, they need to survive, and they can't survive at $100 a year.
Thank you. Someone else from the media? Rafael Calderon, your association is like a CHW forever, whatever, go for it.
Yes, CHW forever in Spanish means chévere, which is my favorite word to say. Like I said, I'm Rafael Calderon, I'm a community health worker. I work in the community helping people solve issues that affect their health. My question to you both is two-part question. Is, do you have a strategy to help people like me? There's many like me that want to help the community, but we have to do it on the sides because we do not have a building, we do not have a 501c3, we don't have a big entity. So opportunities that come to the community from the government or to the state, they don't really reach the community because these big entities, they hire someone that speaks Spanish, they send the money to the community, but those people are not connected to the community. So the people that have the needs do not have access to those. And then again, there's always that report that where we're helping that Latino community, but when you go into the community, you see a different result. One quick example, I helped someone apply for the emergency rental assistance, let's say opportunities that are available now through Southern New Hampshire Services, because the government gives money to the big community action programs, and then they hire people to do this job. Once I submitted this application, number one, I had to fill out the application, explain what it was, because the person wasn't sure how it worked. Then once I submitted it, I came out of the picture. So I have no way to follow up, I have no answer to give to that person, except to just wait. If there were a way that our system involved community health workers like me, independent ones, to have access to this information and these resources, we could help the community in a much better way because we would work with the people on the ground. That's one. Second, is there any strategy for small businesses, Latino small businesses, for someone that wants to start a business, grow a business, or expand a business? And the reason for that question is that right now I'm doing my CHW Forever thing. I have a TV show on local public access with the idea to share information in the community as to how we can prosper together and be healthier. That's a small business. So any strategies on how we can help on those two? Thank you.
To whom are you addressing the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Everybody.
So one of the things that I can tell you that I struggle, and I've been saying it over and over and over, that we see a lot of organizations, we see a lot of community organizations, so-called, that they get grants from the government, and they're supposedly working with the underrepresented communities. But to be honest, they take the money. Of course they take the money. But when I ask questions, why we don't have Latinos, why we don't have people who basically speak those languages or represent those communities working with that grant, they subcontract those jobs to another organization because that organization don't have the people, don't have the human capacity, and everything gets lost in between. The money is not coming into my community, the money is not going into the people who needed it, and then sometimes the money goes back to the government because we're not taking it quickly enough, or we're not teaching the people, letting the people in our communities that there's money, is grants sitting around for them to either housing, education, daycare, you name it. We have an issue, and I've been saying it over and over and over. I've been having conversation with Eva Castillo, like I'm sorry, I bring you all the time. Eva Castillo, Alejandro, many of Alessandra, Jason, many of the people in this group, I've been talking about that. It's an issue. We get so many organizations in our state taking those grants, but they're not doing the work. They're not representing our communities, and they're not doing that. And then for the small businesses, we have a small business organization in New Hampshire, and they're trying to work with the minority groups. And I'm more than happy to give you some information after this meeting, because I know some of the people involved with this, that they try to get more people from their underrepresented communities to open their own businesses, and they're giving grants and then help them to get educated how to open their own businesses. So it is help there, but that's the problem. We're not bringing that information. I'm only one person, and to be honest, I try to be everywhere and I try to inform everyone for what I know, but it's really hard. It's really hard for me, like, be everywhere and try to, like, I give the information to one person and I'm hoping to that person can, bring that information to their communities, but it's hard. I'm like I say, I wish more people get involved and more people know exactly the grants that are coming into our state that's supposed to be used to help our communities.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Trini, you had your hand up, and then Carlos.
Thanks, Rafael. So first, regarding the small business, I'd say I agree. I opened my own business. I'm working with the SBDC and learning about the programs that exist that can help me grow my business. And I also know that there were lots of recovery funds that small business owners from minority communities didn't learn about because, as Marina said, the word doesn't get out. So that disconnect that happens, that sometimes there are things that exist or things that are written in a certain way, right, that if we should be filling that gap, making sure word gets out, that awareness gets out. And so CHWs actually are the perfect solution to almost everything.
I agree.
And Rafael knows that I'm a big advocate of community health workers who are trusted members of their own communities, no matter what community that may be, and who help connect people to resources. They're not health providers. They're not trained clinically. In fact, that's what's their strength. They are people like you or me, like a comadre, someone who's known in the community, who's trusted, and who people go to for advice, and who can then be the one who says, oh, let me tell you how you enroll in school, or let me tell you how you do this, or let me tell you how to do that. And they're connectors. And we know that social change relies on people who are connectors, right, who know how to get things done. And so I think CHW is not just for health, but for navigating all our systems, which are too complex in general, governmental, organizations. It's always hard to understand. And I would use my own experience, even as a physician, having to navigate the healthcare system myself as I take care of my elderly mother, right? Like, it is so challenging. And I have not only an MD, I have I've learned about policy and public health, and it is hard for me. So I can't even begin to imagine what it's like for everyone else. So we need to be creating positions, whether it's CHWs and other kind of navigator positions, and not just in health, to raise awareness, to make connections, and just make our systems less challenging, less burdensome, more accessible for everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Carlos.
Yes, I would like to say that where we are nowadays is much better than in the year 2000 when I first started. I have to commend the leadership of the city of Manchester as well as the state level. Politically, there are nowadays more representatives from the community in the offices of the congressmen or women, as well as the Senate. Those people, and that goes to address the question, can be approached because they are liaison to the Latinos, to the Asians, and the likes. For example, Governor Eugene Shahin, she does have a representative that is Latino Hispanic. And if you go the same to the other representatives, they also have their connections that are Latino liaisons. Is that enough? No, I won't say it's enough. But what I'm saying is that the doors are opening, and it's a time lapse. It takes time. It takes time. It's like when I got elected the first time, and then after me, there have been many more coming through, and right now there are many more participating. You know, the doors are opening. Sometimes we want things like yesterday, really quick, but it doesn't happen. I see Maria's struggles. I had those struggles at the state level, at the state house. When you are one and there are 400, it's not easy. It's not easy to penetrate and to get them to listen to your message. You have to persevere. I got elected five terms. After a while, I said, well, I need to work. I need to have a job, you know. And I focus on, okay, I'm gonna get a full-time job, and I have to go get a full-time job, because being a politician here is at the state level is basically volunteer. The Small Business Administration also likewise. Now, the strategy is connect with those people, but more than that, I encourage, and I'm gonna say, for example, I see Evita coming in. Something that she accomplished through her organization with the immigrant is the ballot initiative. Right now there is a bilingual, trilingual type of ballot that people will be able to get when you go to vote. That was unthinkable that it could happen. But it was the peer pressure, it was the working hard, and with Evita and the group of the immigrants, they managed to basically to be heard, and the initiative was put in place. That's one of them. There are many others to accomplish, particularly in the business sector, which is the hardest one to penetrate. And I'm not talking about penetrate negatively. It's basically once there is visibility, and there is assertiveness in the leadership of the people that participate. I see here Sandra Almonte. Sandra, what's the position that you have now with the neighborhood housing, right?
Neighborhood, Southern New Hampshire. I'm the chair of the board.
Exactly. So there you go. Right there is a way to home ownership. And likewise, you know, it's very hard, Maria. It's very hard for me. It's very hard for Bonilla. If you guys get elected, it's going to be hard. But from one, look how many are participating. But I will encourage the organizations, the few organizations, to continue the pressure and to continue to make the issues heard, so that there is more inclusion at all levels, business and social, or educationally, or medically, because New Hampshire is not New York, New Hampshire is not Massachusetts, Chicago, where you pretty much, you open your mouth or you go to any particular department and you're going to find representation. New Hampshire is very unique, it's very small and very compartmentalized. And the time is proven right on the side of the minority people, because we are being noticed by business people and the two political party systems. We are being noticed, and it's about time.
Thank you.
Thank you. We only have a few minutes left for the media segment. Great questions. Anyone else from the media that would like to ask a question? Mr. Sylvia from Inklink, Manchester.
Thank you.
Correct?
Carlos kind of touched on what I was going to ask here. As you all know, only 4.4% of New Hampshire's population is Latino according to the 2020 census. Do you ever feel that the population as a whole in New Hampshire overlooks you at times because there aren't as many Latinos here in New Hampshire versus other parts of the country?
Yeah, like, I mean, even though I said it myself, like, this is a white state, when people focus on that so much, it does erase, like, that we exist and we're here. And I think, especially when you live in a city like Manchester or Nashua, like, it is very diverse here, and there are a lot of different people, like, not just Latinos, but, like, immigrant populations from different places around the world. And I think like assuming that Latinos don't have a stake here and don't have like there aren't enough of us here for our issues to matter in New Hampshire is a big mistake. And I think we're just showing that more and more. I think what Carlos said exactly, like, you know, first there was one and now there's how many of us, like we are participating more because we know we have to fight for a place here because no one is going to do it for us. Like no one's going to be like, oh, let's fight for the Latinos. Like we have to make ourselves heard and make our presence known. And I think we are doing that. Like I have NHPR doing news in Spanish now, and all this was like just such a big thing. And yeah, it's just cool. Like I went from living in a state where I never heard my language to now being able to speak my language in an interview, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I would add just a little bit. Like Alessandra saying, it's a mistake. They're not. They think that you know, we are just a little community and we don't have voices or representation because, to be honest, if we count the Brazilian, Portuguese, they're part of the Latino community too. So when they say Latinos, they always think about Mexicans, Salvadorians, you name it, but they always forgot that, you know, the Brazilian and Portuguese community, they are part of the Latino community as well. So yes, our voices, you know, they getting some attention, and I think the louder we get, and not to be afraid to speak up the truth and our truth, as more people is going to pay attention to us. It's critical for us not to be afraid, even though that we get rejected or they try to silence our voices. We can't allow that to happen because the representation needs to continue growing.
Thank you. We're going to have time for one more question, but before that, immediately after that, we're going to go to the closing remarks by the candidates, and this time we're going to go in reverse order. So if you went first, I mean, you will go last. You can figure it out on your own then. Someone else from the media, a question.
Yeah, guys, can I follow up on?
No.
I don't know if somebody has an idea for a legislation that they would like to promote
To whom are you addressing the question?
Anybody, like if someone has an idea.
Jason, if you'd like to take it, go for it. If not, someone else can. You're welcome to pass.
I'm passing.
I do have an idea. Two legislation very quickly. One of them is about mental health in the minority groups. We need to have better conversations about mental health and how critical it is for the minority groups. We have a stigma about mental health, and we need to break that stigma in order to save more lives in our communities. And second of all, abortion. Abortion, and when we talk about not just abortion, but when we talk about any issue that involves our bodies, our communities, they're so silent. They're so afraid to speak about it. We need to be more open about, you know, those things, because I think it's critical. So the second bill will be teaching our communities and then have more conversations about the abortion. It's not bad. Sometimes medical needed, and those things that need to happen. And I think those are the bills that I would like encourage people to bring it to our communities and attention.
Thank you. We'll move on to the closing remarks by the candidates. Remember, the thumbs up means that you say it's a cue to stop. It could also mean that you're doing well, which most you are. But please think of that in the context of time. Dr. Trini, you go first.
So I never had health insurance growing up, and my mother first got health insurance when she qualified for Medicare at the age of 65. So having insurance coverage is not enough to get us where we need to be for health equity, but it's a very important foundational start. we're at a time where Medicaid expansion is going to be reauthorized. It's been one of the most successful programs in history. It's covered thousands of people in Granite State and provided access to mental and behavioral health and substance abuse treatment, which, as the state that was leading in the opioid crisis, really needed. And so our communities need that. Eva and I were privileged to partner on a grant-funded initiative that was all about enrolling people in new opportunities for health insurance coverage. So health matters, health insurance matters. It allows us, it's not the only thing, like health contributes to everything and everything contributes to health, but let's make sure we pass Medicaid expansion and not let that go. That's something we've all grown accustomed to having, and it's so important. And so it allows us to thrive, it allows us to have full opportunity to be successful as individuals and families and communities.
Thanks, Dr. Maria.
I'm going to say it in Spanish. La oportunidad que yo pienso que nosotros debemos de coger como latinos es que cuando hablamos sobre cualquier problema que afecta a nuestra comunidad, ser más abiertos, que en nuestra comunidad existe la comunidad LGBTQ+, y que necesitamos tener respeto para ellos también. Yo entiendo que en nuestra cultura es muy difícil para muchas personas entender a esta comunidad, pero si nosotros tratamos de hablar de derechos humanos, también ellos son humanos y merecen respeto. One thing that I will say is when it comes to the LGBTQ community, when we talk about any issues in our community, let's don't forget, I know there is a stigma and I know it's a taboo in our communities. A lot of families don't accept the LGBTQ, but we need to make them included in our conversations.
Muchas gracias. Ya que esta se puso a hablar en español, Alessandra.
No, I really appreciate you bringing up the LGBTQ community, Maria, because I would say, like, you know, being Latino is a huge part of my identity, and so is being queer, and that's something I really had to figure out for myself because of the environment and beliefs that my family held. And I think similarly to how Latinos are seen as not a big part of New Hampshire, we don't see New Hampshire as like a very queer state, you know, and I think that's another group of people who I really want to advocate for in the State House. Like, we are here, we do exist, and we need to be considered when people are presenting legislation. Something in particular I really want to push for is to make New Hampshire a sanctuary state almost for trans people across the country if they're in states where they're not able to access the health care they need as trans people, that they can come here and not get you know, indicted back in their own state for coming here to seek the health care they need. And I really hold my position as like a visibly queer Latino person in New Hampshire like seriously, and I want people to see that it is possible to be Latino and be queer and do that in New Hampshire and be proud of it.
Muchas gracias, Alessandra. Merengue y bachata, Carlitos.
Hey. I just want to say that it comes to my mind inclusion. And inclusion for all of us in the society in which we are will come through participation. And with participation will come respect. Those three words for me are very important: inclusion, participation, and respect, because then we will deserve what we get, because we are participating and we get the respect, you know. So I encourage anyone, no matter party affiliation or orientation, to participate, because that's the only way to make a mark and to be part of the inclusion, particularly in New Hampshire, which is a very unique state, you know. So I commend all the organizations and the social workers and the organizers that are here. I'm not going to name names, but I believe that you guys are doing a very good job. I thank you, the Hampshire Hispanics and Gus, for the participation, and we look forward to participating more in the future.
Thank you, Carlos. So you start with something very good and you end with something very good. Jason.
Muchas gracias a todos. I wish I could I get really nervous sometimes speaking fully in Spanish because words trip. But I just wanted to advocate and really relay that there is no set profile in being in politics, whether like you're self-conscious of the way you dress, speak, your educational background. If you have the lived experiences, I feel like that's more than enough to enter the ring. And you're not doing it alone. There's various community leaders that have held me down and hold me accountable every day. Unlike the fact that I've gone through so much, my family has, but you're also part of the community that will hold you up, but also most importantly, hold you accountable. And school board related stuff, yeah, like I came on here to increase access for our families and to know how to advocate for themselves, especially for English language learners here, and how to advocate for their children here, because sometimes if you don't know what you don't know until you have someone there really advocating for you. So, gracias a todos.
Thanks so much, Jason, much appreciated. I just have some, random remarks. First of all, this is more a logistical thing before I get to the remarks. I know that some of you try to pay with cash. We don't take cash, only American Express. No, only checks. So if you don't have with you, you can send that at another time. I had one question that I had for Natalie, given that she's where she is. She's in Winchester, and the Latino population is about 1.8%, and which translates roughly in about 74.7 Latinos. So the question was along the lines, and I'm rephrasing it here. How can you work towards Latinos being accepted using the influence to be recognized and accepted at the nationwide level? At the statewide level. Pretty much what I'm trying to get at there is that there are communities where there are Latinos, that the numbers may not be as high as Nashua and Manchester, yet those Latinos there, they're part of our community, they represent us, and they also, those representatives in those communities can also be influenced, so the rest of the Latinos statewide can be accepted, integrated, and be part of the community. So that's one. The other one along those lines is to you, for you to expand your involvement statewide. So think beyond your wards, beyond your districts, beyond your county. So go outside, again, to support, to show face to those Latinos elsewhere. Support your fellow representatives in those communities and counties, because in turn, when there is a time for a vote, your presence in those areas are going to be reflected on issues that are important to you because you were there, they saw your face. New Hampshire is small. Everything happens by communication, by contacting people, grassroots and so forth. Again, one of the advices that I tell people, I think I said before, when they come here is that just be aware that no matter where you are in New Hampshire, you're likely to find somebody that knows about you or that knows about someone that you know. So do that, please. And then the other one, support one another. Okay, again, along the lines of what I started in terms of expanding your involvement statewide and so forth, but also as Latinos, support one another. Even I look at potentially two of my friends may run against one another in the general, Trini and Carlos. You're vying for 4 seats. Why run together? Run together. Get those 2 seats, one for the Republicans, one for the Democrats. But don't think of it as something that you're going to win as yourself. So don't make it antagonistic. Make it collaborative. Be an example to the community. You're leaders. So that's why you're there, that's where you are. And finally, I'm going to vote for each one of you in my heart. So, thank you all for being here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Camora.